For 2,000 years, hundreds of thousands of people kept a secret. Not a small group, not a private cult. Every year, thousands of people walked from Athens to the town of Eleusis on the coast, underwent a ceremony that lasted several days, and walked back changed. Plato was there, Aristotle, Sophocles, Cicero, Marcus Aurelius, the emperors Hadrian and Augustus. All of them initiated into the same mysteries, all of them bound by the same oath of silence, all of them apparently keeping it. We do not know what happened inside. In 2,000 years of celebration, from approximately 1500 BCE to 392 CE, not one initiate left a detailed account of the inner ceremony. What we have are fragments, hints, the descriptions of what could be seen from outside. But what came out of it is documented. People who had been initiated consistently said one thing afterward. They no longer feared death. Whatever happened in that sanctuary, it did something to people's relationship with dying that 2,000 years of participants considered the most valuable experience of their lives. Eleusis was a small town on the Saronic Gulf, approximately 20 kilometers west of Athens. Its sanctuary to the goddess Demeter was one of the oldest continuously used sacred sites in the Greek world, with religious activity dating to at least 1500 BCE. By the classical period, it had grown into an enormous complex. Temples, a great hall of initiation called the Telesterion, large enough to hold several thousand people simultaneously, and the infrastructure required to manage one of the most important religious institutions in the ancient world. The mysteries were celebrated annually in late September and early October, at the time of the autumn planting. The mysteries were about exactly this: the descent into darkness and the return to light. The seed pressed into the earth and the life that rises from it. The passage between the world of the living and the world of the dead. The myth at the heart of it was the story of Demeter and Persephone. Persephone, daughter of Demeter, goddess of grain and harvest, was gathering flowers in a meadow when the earth opened and Hades, lord of the underworld, took her down into his kingdom and made her his queen. Demeter searched the earth for her daughter, inconsolable. While she searched, she neglected her function. The grain stopped growing, the earth became barren, animals starved, humanity began to die. Zeus eventually sent Hermes to negotiate Persephone's return, but before she left the underworld, Hades gave her pomegranate seeds to eat. Because she had consumed the food of the dead, she was bound to return for part of each year. When she comes back to her mother, spring comes, and the earth revives. When she descends again, Demeter's grief returns, and the world withdraws into winter. This myth explains the seasons, but it does much more than that. It places two women at the center of the cosmic cycle of death and renewal. The heart of the story is not Zeus or Hades. It is a mother's love for her daughter, and what that love sets in motion. Who could be initiated was itself remarkable. The mysteries were open to men and women, free people and enslaved people, Greeks and non-Greeks, virtually any human being who spoke Greek and had not committed murder. In a world rigidly stratified by gender, status, and ethnicity, the Eleusinian sanctuary offered something almost without parallel, a sacred space in which those distinctions were suspended. The enslaved person and the emperor underwent the same ceremony, received the same initiation. This was not incidental. It was theological. The experience the mysteries offered, the confrontation with death and the dissolution of the fear of it, was understood as universally human. Death does not distinguish between the free and the enslaved, the wealthy and the poor. The mysteries prepared everyone for the one experience they all shared. Pindar, initiated in the 5th century BCE, wrote that blessed is the one who has seen these things before going beneath the hollow earth, for he understands the end of mortal life and the beginning given of Zeus. Cicero, writing 4 centuries later, said that Athens had given the world nothing more valuable than the Eleusinian Mysteries, through which people had learned not only to live with joy, but to die with better hope. These are not the words of people describing a pleasant ceremony. They are the words of people describing a transformation they could not fully articulate, and were bound by oath not to articulate even if they could. Prospective initiates first underwent a preliminary ceremony at the lesser mysteries in spring, making them eligible for the greater mysteries in autumn. They then bathed in the sea, fasted, and assembled in Athens. Then came the procession, the sacred way from Athens to Eleusis. Approximately 20 kilometers walked in a great collective procession, carrying torches, singing hymns, stopping at sacred sites along the route. By the time the initiates arrived at Eleusis, they had been walking, fasting, and singing for hours. They were physically depleted, emotionally open, and collectively bonded. At Eleusis, before the central ceremony, the initiates drank the kykeon, a ritual drink described in the Homeric hymn to Demeter as a mixture of water, barley, and pennyroyal mint. It was the drink Demeter herself had consumed during her search for Persephone, and drinking it was a ritual participation in the myth. For decades, scholars assumed the kykeon was a simple barley water. Then, in 1978, the ethnomycologist Gordon Wasson, the chemist Albert Hofmann, the man who first synthesized LSD, and the classicist Karl Ruck published The Road to Eleusis, proposing that the kykeon was prepared with ergot, a fungus that grows on rye and contains the alkaloids from which Hofmann had synthesized LSD 40 years earlier. In controlled preparation and dosage, ergot produces profound visionary experiences, altered perception, the dissolution of the boundary between self and world, encounters with what feel like genuinely other realities. The experiences described by initiates, the visions, the dissolution of the fear of death, are entirely consistent with a carefully managed psychedelic experience, administered by trained priests and priestesses with centuries of accumulated knowledge. The physical evidence supported the theory when a vessel associated with the mysteries was found to contain residues consistent with ergot compounds, a drinking vessel from the sanctuary itself, with traces of exactly what the hypothesis proposed. At the heart of the inner ceremony, within the innermost sanctuary, ancient sources hint at a sacred union enacted between the chief priest and a priestess embodying the goddess, the divine feminine and masculine in sacred marriage at the center of a tradition whose entire purpose was to reconcile humanity with death. Demeter's grief, Persephone's return, the priestess in the innermost sanctuary. The feminine principle was the engine of everything the mysteries offered. In 3092 CE, the Christian emperor Theodosius issued the decree that ended it. He did not discourage pagan worship or tax pagan temples. He closed them and made violations punishable by death. The Eleusinian Mysteries had been celebrated without interruption for 2,000 years. They had survived the Persian Wars, the Peloponnesian War, the Macedonian and Roman conquests. They did not end because people stopped believing. They ended because an emperor made them illegal. The last initiates walked away from Eleusis, knowing there would be no next year. The priests and priestesses dispersed. The telesterion was stripped and eventually dismantled, and the secrecy that initiates had maintained so faithfully became in the end the tradition's only vulnerability. Nothing of the inner ceremony had been written down. When the last person who knew was gone, the knowledge went with them. What was lost was a technology, ancient, refined across 2,000 years, for bringing human beings into a transformed relationship with death. The closing of Eleusis did not end a ceremony. It removed something the ancient world had considered essential to a fully lived human life.